Hey there. Just checking my notes for today. You are having a nooner with Dave LaMont. That's who I am. And thank you for being here. Let me adjust a couple of things. I'm trying to frame this shot so you get some Christmas activity in our home that was done entirely by my wife. I did drive the car to pick up the tree, but that's about it. A few things I want to talk about. First, a couple of breaking items that have occurred since the last half hour, 45 minutes. The Dolphin-Bengal game, which got a little pushy-shovey. No one's going to be suspended. And it looks that way. According to NFL.com, it doesn't look like anyone's in any kind of trouble for losing a game. But it got a little heated. Brian Flores, the Dolphins head coach, apologized for himself losing his cool. But at the same time, in the machismo world of the NFL, I'm sure the players loved it. And the fans, I know, loved it. Yes, you can go, coach, you really need to do better. And he knows that, and I doubt he'll do it again. But I guarantee you that his players and I know the fan base dug it. So it looks like no one's going to be punished. The kickouts, by the way, the guys who were the little, that was dumb. Way big overreaction by the officiating there. They always tell broadcasters, less is more. Speak less on television. And a few of us actually try that. Not very easy, is it? But I think sometimes with officiating, less is more too. And that time, I think they went a little far. That's one item from Sunday. By the way, for all you Justin Herbert fans out there, how many points did the Chargers put? Yeah, that's what I thought. Now, Tua Tagovailoa comes back, slow first half, not much excitement. They were actually losing the Bengals. Dolphins come on to win. Tua puts up some nice numbers, except for people who own Devontae Parker in fantasy. More on fantasy football later in the news. But bottom line is this is an 8-4 football team that's in the playoff hunt, and barring a complete collapse, I think they're going to get the 10 wins, and they will make the playoffs with 10 wins. Big game tonight. If the Niners can knock off the Bills, that would tie the two teams at 8-4, although the Bills at the moment have that game in hand. And by the way, that Monday nighter, I think it is, or that probably will be flexed to Sunday night, the last game of the year. Buffalo and Miami is going to end up being perhaps the biggest game of the regular season. So, the Jets fired their defensive coordinator, the egomaniacal Greg Williams. He is the one who put up a defense that was so bad that the Elias Stats Bureau people, who are remarkable researchers, couldn't find a play in those certain circumstances. You had to go about 15, 16 years back where in that environment with one team having one shot at it to try to win, not try a field goal because it goes too long. The defense that was called, which was a 8-man blitz, and the result, which was a touchdown that gave the Las Vegas Raiders a win and kept the Jets winless, it was unprecedented. Absolutely unprecedented. I'm not even sure there's a button in Madden where you could do that. The game might come back to you and go, are you sure you want to leave your DBs one-on-one, only 3 of them, with all the receivers that are going to be in this pattern? Now, look, it's an easy second guess, but that's what we do for a living. I myself am a licensed second guesser. So it failed miserably. The Jets remain winless. And while their fans are happy about that, I feel for the players who the last several weeks have put up efforts good enough to win games, except they're not. Here they had a chance to really screw over a team in the Raiders, not knock them out of the playoff picture, but really, really wounded them, and they couldn't do it at the end, and in part because they were in a bad defense. I go back to the 2017 Tennessee-Florida game, 2018, where Tennessee, all they have to do is defend one more play, practically. And they let Florida, they play a terrible defense. They don't play deep enough. Florida gets behind them. Felipe Franks throws a bomb, and the Gators win that game at the buzzer. That's a bad defensive call. You can't play your way out of that. That's on the coach. And this one's on the coach too. Yeah, I suppose if they'd gotten to them, but it's not like they're playing against a 15-year-old quarterback. This is a guy who's a veteran who was having a good day, Derek Carr. So anyway, no more Greg Williams in New York. He gone. He gone is going to be something else that I wanted to talk a little bit about today, and what I call the E-word expectations. And I've talked with you about this before, but I'm going to go over it again. And what I was looking for, and what I have to call up on my phone again, are some very interesting comments from somebody who understands expectations of sports fans, and that would be Urban Meyer, who's, now, of course, now the last couple of years has been with Fox, despite being linked with 77 different openings, probably from sixth grade in Montana to USC, Notre Dame, and now Texas, where Horns 24/7, a Longhorn website, is reporting that he is not going to be taking the Texas job, which doesn't surprise me for one big reason. He would be literally replacing one of his mentees in Tom Herman, who worked for Meyer. But supposedly Meyer's health is still a little bit of an issue. So here's a quote from Urban Meyer that he said Saturday. I say this with great respect that the elite program, and there's a handful there, the fan bases are completely out of their minds. They've lost all sense of reality. Now, I say that with great respect because I would always tell our players, wait a minute now, you did not have to come to Ohio State or Florida. You chose to come here. Don't be surprised when, if you struggle a little bit, you get hammered a little bit. Same thing with our coaching staff. And he admitted it wears on you a little bit. No duh. Now, this is a guy who basically burned himself right to the absolute end of the wick. And boy, are my Florida friends divided about Urban Meyer. There's nobody neutral about him, I'll tell you that. Some love him, some hate him. Hate him for leaving a semi-bare cupboard. Some love him for the fact that he won titles, for heaven's sakes. So, he's right. Some of these bases are out of whack. Texas is going to be on their fourth straight winning season. The buyout for Tom Herman, by the way, is $15 million. Now, if you're laying off sports at your university and yet you're paying out tens of millions of dollars to get rid of a coach because he's not performing to fan base or your expectations, I'm not sure you should be an athletic director. When you're going into a room to tell a sport, tell a team, and I'm not saying this has happened to Texas, but it has happened at other schools. Hey, sorry, we're getting rid of your program. That's why you came here. I'm sorry. Good luck. And then that same guy might be entertaining offers to get rid of and to buy out a guy. Wichita State paid Greg Marshall almost $6 million to leave. I'm going to guess the Wichita State budget for other sports isn't anything close to that. Think I'm right? I think I'm right. So it gets to the E word, expectations. I call it the dirtiest word in the English sports language. Let's look at just some NFL teams and where their fans are thinking and what they're thinking before I get into the college end of it. In the NFL, I mentioned the Jets. There wasn't a Jets fan alive who understood this was going to be a good season. In fact, they're probably thrilled to death that they're a game ahead of Jacksonville for the worst record in the NFL. Jacksonville fans, they could not have expected it. So their team is delivering, okay? They're not underperforming, and they're not overperforming. It's like, what is this? Is somebody overrated, underrated, or properly rated? They're properly rated. They knew they were going to be bad. They kind of want to be bad, and they are bad. On the other hand, you have, say, the Dolphins, the Cleveland Browns. Now, two teams that have been utterly irrelevant for quite some time, who have led their fans to believe they were going to be better, especially the Browns. And it hasn't happened. Now they are. Now they're both, at the moment, playoff teams. So they've exceeded expectations. That's dangerous, too, because now that you've brought everybody up, you got to keep it going. The Dolphins are probably a year ahead of what most people thought. Now, they have benefited from, I must say, kind of a soft part of their schedule. They still have to play Buffalo again. New England seems to be playing better. The Raiders are on the outside looking in, although I don't think they're that great. And you've got Kansas City, perhaps the best team in the league. So the schedule of the next 4 games is going to be difficult. No more Bengals, no more Jets, no more teams, Chargers, no more teams they can fatten up on. However, in the past, they would lose those games, like the Denver game. That was more typical of the last few years. So expectations are high now. It's risky because as soon as you let somebody down, they turn around and bite you back. If you're a Chiefs fan. Well, you're like, yeah, what do you expect? We're going back to the Super Bowl, man. Come on. So if they don't make it, it's a failure. The Steelers have now raised their fans' expectations to a high level. They play tonight against Washington, a battle of high and low expectations. Washington's got 4 wins, which is probably what most people thought they were going to get all year. Steelers haven't lost a game yet. So now their fans are thinking, well, hell, we're going to go undefeated. People don't like to be let down. I know I don't. It's like going to a restaurant, a famous restaurant, a high-end place, and wherever you live, and you dress up a little bit. You're going to spend some money, but hey, man, this place is the best. And everything about it, the maitre d' is dignified, and you get led to your table, and then you find out the food isn't that good, or the service slips, or something's not perfect, and you expected perfection. You're going to feel cheated and let down. It's the same thing in sports, right? Why do you think people were so enamored in South Florida with the Miami Heat when they started winning and they got hot in the playoffs? Because they didn't expect it. Give a Heat fan a shot glass of truth serum, and he or she will tell you that they would have expected them to make the playoffs and either get knocked in the first round or maybe get knocked in the second round by, say, Boston or Milwaukee or someone like that. Well, we know how it worked out. They ran into the team with the most outsized expectations this year, the Lakers. If the Lakers had lost that series, their season would have been branded a massive failure. That's just how it goes. And that means the media opens up on them, columnists open up on them, talk shows open up on them, and fans open up on them. Expectations, that's why I call it the dirtiest word in the language for sports. Because if they are not met, here comes all the scenes, the guys with the pitchforks and the torches and running in formation to come get you. That's what's happening in college ball at Texas, in Michigan, where the rumors have popped back up again that Jim Harbaugh is going to take an NFL job. And I thought to myself, do I really want to hire this guy? He's going to come to me with a 3-win season. They're going to get buried by Ohio State this weekend if the game even gets played. But Jim Harbaugh was hired with the expectation that Michigan would win the Big Ten and then a national title and beat Ohio State, of which they've done none of the above. And in fact, the recent Ohio State games haven't even been that close. So that's some pretty let down people right there. And other places. University of Miami has been begging for big seasons for years. Got off to a great start a few years ago with Mark Richt going, 10-0, and then collapsing down the stretch, losing a couple of games. But the expectations were high for the following season. And what happened? Richt barely beat 500. And he was chased out of that job, in my opinion, by the pitchfork and torch carrying crowd. The social media was brutal toward Mark Richt. And it was brutal toward Manny Diaz when victory was declared in the offseason in year 1. And Miami was exceedingly average last year. And they were losing games. Stop me if you've heard this before. They were expected to win. It's a dirty word. You feel cheated. Hey, I came to the game expecting my team to win. And this happens all the time. This happened, when I coached youth soccer. You look at the schedule and you go, oh, team number 8, they're terrible. And it goes to the kids. It goes at every level, man. So it is wearing. I understand your desire as a fan to have your university be the best, your university win, your university compete. How's it going for Kentucky basketball right now? 1-3. Yeah, I think they're only going to be ranked 3rd this week. So what's going to be fascinating to watch, and I mentioned this a little bit when I talked to my friend Ed Berliner on Friday in the Nooner, when we get to firing season in college football, and you've got big buyouts in the millions in some cases, what's going to happen with that? In an era where sports are being cut, sports information staffs are being cut. For example, at Vanderbilt, a wonderful academic institution, they wiped out their sports information department pretty much. Now, that may not sound like a lot to you, but that is the chain, the link in the chain between the media and sports, coaches, players, administrators. It's an important link. It'd be as if the White House went on without a communication staff and didn't hire a press secretary or associate press secretaries and just occasionally threw out a press release. That might sound like a good idea to you, but it's not, because who's ever in that office isn't getting the message out the way they want to. It's the same thing for a university, for an athletic department. So in this era where things like that are happening, are you going to see a bunch of firings this year, or are universities going to go, how do we justify this? That's my fervent hope. Unless a guy just does something outrageously wrong, then I think you let him slide for a year and then see what your finances look like in 2021, when hopefully things will improve, although it may take some time. So temper your expectations a teeny bit. I know you're excited if you're a Browns fan. I know you're excited if you're a Dolphins fan. I know you're excited if you root for the Chiefs or the Steelers or the Packers, who had a nice win last night, and so on. And I know you're angry if you're a Philly fan or a Cowboys fan, where the expectations are always outsized. Exactly what my dog just said. So just don't let the pot boil. Don't let the water hit the stove, okay? Be excited, be happy, but don't let it ruin it. I say that because the other part of this I entitle is I'm announcing my retirement from. It's not broadcasting, because it's going to retire me before I retire it. I have no other appreciable skills. If I change a light bulb, I tweet out how handy I am around the house. I can put air in my tires. I'm good with that. So I'm not a handyman, okay? No, I'm talking about something that's been driving me really crazy for about 4 years now, the last 3 or 4 years, and that's fantasy football. After this year, no mas. Now, guess who said that before this year started? And yet, I was not talked into it. A dear friend invited me to a league, the 10th of 10 people. I said, sure, paid my little fee, and it's been miserable. Now, I have a winning record. I might even sneak into the playoffs this year. Snuck into the playoffs in the big league I played in last year. I've actually won fantasy leagues a few times, either free leagues or leagues where we play for beer bottle caps. And that's a very gratifying feeling. But unfortunately, and there is, as the Led Zeppelin song goes, nobody's fault but mine, it has become with me an unhealthy habit. And I go back to what Urban Meyer said about it wears on you a little bit. And you think, Dave, it's fantasy football. Why does it wear on you? Because I'm hyper competitive and hate losing. See, a little known fact about me, and only my dearest friends know this, I never played any sports as a kid, organized sports. That's one of the reasons my wife and I urged our sons to get into organized sports, so they learn how to lose. Well, I never did. My announcing career started in Virginia, in Northern Virginia, George C. Marshall High, home of the Statesman, one of the great nicknames of all time. Because I got cut from the freshman basketball team. I was like 5'11" as a freshman in the 70s. That's tall. I was so bad I couldn't even get on the damn team. So I became the PA announcer. And that sort of whetted my desires and got me going, and there you go. So I never learned the ability to shake somebody's hand and say, good game, or to lose gracefully. So I've been a terrible loser. And what's happened over the years, I've gone from literally having a friend of mine over to we could watch TV and NFL games, and I had the Sunday ticket package. And, oh, look, my running backs, let's go to this game. Hey, that's oh, good, I'm winning, yay. To now, I can hardly watch a game. I might try to find a game where none of my players are playing, and I obsessively check and recheck my phone 40 times a day on a Sunday. What do you mean? He only has 4 carries. Oh, my God, what are they doing over here? What do you mean he has 3 catches? What's wrong with this guy today? Why today of all days is the day he does? You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. It's not fun. It's supposed to be fun. I'm playing golf yesterday morning with a buddy who I haven't played with in 2 months, and 2 other guys who are perfectly nice human beings. And in the middle of me waiting to tee off, I'm changing my fantasy lineup because I found out that Ryan Fitzpatrick wasn't going to play. So I had to pull this guy here and move this guy here. Oh, this guy's, why? I guess I'm an attentive manager. Woo! So when this is over, I'm walking away for good. You know why? I want to back to go watching football. I've been watching football since I was 6 years old. I like it. It's fun. I enjoy working, and I enjoy being a fan. And it is my fault. But my obsessive desire to do nothing but win has ruined it for me to the point where I do spend, and if you notice over this football season, I have avoided even having a fantasy football guest on, even though I know fantasy is popular. And I've avoided talking about my team because you don't want to hear it, and I don't want to hear about yours. Now, sometimes we do commiserate. You have fantasy. Oh, do you understand that the last play of the game and the guy runs for 3 yards, and what happens? I lose. I just don't have the stomach for that anymore. So when this is over, win or lose, draw, whatever happens to me, it's going to be over. I don't want to prep for drafts. I don't want to worry about not getting what I want on the waiver wire and having to go back and redo the waiver wire. I want to be able to watch games. Last year, I managed 2 teams. I managed a team that was in my big league with a bunch of great guys that I've been in for at least 10 years. And I managed one for my wife and her office. And I ran those teams as if I was running the Packers or the Bears or the Dolphins or the Washington football team, that obsessively. And one of the 2 teams did really well. Hint, it wasn't mine, it was hers. But I managed it. I ran it. I made the changes, substitute, whatever. And you know what she was playing for? An off day, a day off. That's it. No money, no bottle caps, no beans, no nothing. Just the pride of saying I won and I got a day off from work. And I ran that thing. Oh, did you see? I don't believe it. Oh, we won. Enough. I don't know how many years left I have. Hopefully many. I don't need that kind of aggravation. I don't need to give the control of my happiness over to others when I can barely control it myself. So that's what I'm announcing my retirement from, whenever this season's over. And in the future, I'll happily give fantasy advice. I will do anything but draft a team and manage a team and worry about why my guy's not getting handoffs today or why that receiver isn't getting targeted. For example, I own, well, let me rephrase that. Tyler Boyd is a player. I own him. Yeah, right. The Bengals own him. I don't own him. But that's the fantasy football guy talking to you. He's on my team. He got tossed out yesterday in that rather unnecessary. However, I benched him because I didn't think he would be effective. But if I had not, I'd be furious. Legitimately upset. But I have no control over it. And it got to the point where I was losing control over having no control. So that's enough of that. Got to start aiming for more happiness. And if I can start shaving some things out of my life that don't provide the happiness they used to, then that's going to happen. And that is on the list. So there is your big retirement announcement. Sorry, America. Still planning on resuming or continuing or whatever I'm doing with my broadcast career. But yeah, fantasy football's got to go. And by the way, don't do the other sports. Not the daily stuff. No way. No. Can't see it. Can't see it. So there you go. There's the big dramatic announcement. So I hope you enjoyed our conversation. On Friday, I expect to have a guest. We're going to talk about an aspect of the sports market that I was really surprised to hear is booming during these weird economic times. That'll be Friday's Nooner. And perhaps I will have an almost daily Dave as well for you. So thank you very much for watching. I'm going to let the dog out now so she doesn't bark on the show again, and I'll see you. Have a great one. Thank you.